most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this. What is today, the 19th day of July? Going by really quick. We're going to be very much close to the college football season coming up here at the end of next month. I got a few comments I want to make here on the Georgia Media Day. There was a retraction story, somewhat in air quotes, from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Nobody asked Kirby Smart about that. I'll talk about that. I'll talk about this ridiculously easy schedule for the University of Georgia. Plus, I renewed my Netflix, folks, for a little while anyways. There was a lot of talk about this NFL quarterback, this NFL quarterback documentary with Kirk Cousins, Marcus Mariota, and, of course, Patrick Mahomes on Netflix. Very good. I'm about 2 episodes in, going into the 3rd episode. Got a few comments about that. At 30 minutes past the hour, folks, I'll have Rich Ferris returning to the program. All right. This is big. Now, Rich works with Cumulus Media, 104.5 The Zone. That's the flagship of the Tennessee Titans. See if I can get some insight from Rich about this DeAndre Hopkins signing. Plus, George Fant. He is a former right tackle of the New York Jets and the Seattle Seahawks. He's visiting Titans this weekend. Their right tackle, Nicholas Petit-Frere, is suspended for the first 6 games. So I'll talk to him. I cannot wait. No exaggeration, folks, to get Rich into the show. But first, we'll go ahead and take our only break, and I'll be back here in 49 seconds here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty, now I'm back here live. I wanted to thank Calvin Thompson, longtime friend Bubba, and his son Bubba Jr. coming on the program on Sunday. You got a chance to see that interview yesterday. A lot of reminiscing there, getting his son involved in basketball and playing and everything. Okay, now, you know what? Let's start off with this Georgia meet. There's a story here. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution, they fired Pickles. They fired this writer here. They issued an apology. They issued an apology to the University of Georgia and did a retraction. Now, basically, it's saying that they could not substantiate a pattern I've talked about with these women and allegations of violence, sexual abuse, and whatnot. Let me read this so I don't get it more tongue-tied than I already have. They issue a retraction apology, and they fired this reporter saying that they could not substantiate, $50 word there, any pattern or not confirm 11 players remaining with the team after women claimed of violent encounters. That being said, I listened to a 30-minute press conference. I think it was yesterday that Kirby Smart spoke, and there was some questions about the speeding and everything, the allegations because of players speeding. He did bring up the car accident, saying we lost a few family members where two players died. A staffer and a player died, but nobody, Pickles, even asked him about this Victoria Bowles lawsuit. She was also in the accident, a former staffer. I couldn't figure out why she's a air quote former staffer now. She is suing the university. Nobody asked about why she considered a former staffer there. Anything of that nature. I could not figure that out. He didn't even mention the fact this woman she supposedly got some very serious injuries, some that she's considered to be permanent. Very bad situation there. And I've talked about that. So again, with this story here, they didn't totally. I want to say the Atlanta Journal had reported the program's permissive culture often tolerate reckless driving, excessive speeding, street racing by its player. That behavior accumulated. This is from their retraction in a tragedy with a high-speed car crash, obviously back in January, killed a player and a member of the team staff, seriously injured another member. That led to criminal charges. But it's saying did not fully. I want to get this squared away. The AJC did not fully retract the critical story about Georgia handling the sexual abuse allegations against, but it fired experienced two-time Pulitzer Prize nominated investigative reporter Alan Judd. I think that was mainly because of the 11 and the pattern there. But I will say this: the media, which they turned me down to go there because I'd ask real questions. There's some other podcasters they let in there. It tells you who's connected and who's not. That's fine. I'm just saying I've got all the information I need. But that's why one of the reasons why I wanted to go to the SEC Media Day here in Nashville, Tennessee, yesterday's, and ask a Kirby Smart, okay, why has this been a pattern? Okay, you're saying that they retracted the story. Why was it ever brought up? How come you didn't mention Victoria Bowles, who's suing the university? What about that, Coach? Nobody asked any of that stuff. They didn't. They're asking other things. Somebody asked a very underpitched softball question about the speeders, and he said, "Hey, I was a speeder too when I was playing at that age." Blah blah blah. And I just tell you, you can't repeat it. They won't, Pickles. Pickles says you can bet other reporters will start asking questions. Maybe. I don't know. Hopefully Feinbaum did. But I'll tell you this, and maybe he did in a separate interview. But I'll say this. He spoke for about 30 minutes. Nobody during that session, the 30-minute session, nobody asked him anything. Nobody asked him anything of significance. I admire the guy. I will say this. He took over a program that was recruiting pretty well under Mark Richt. They still, Mark Richt, is a holy roller kind of guy and everything, but his players still got in trouble. I want to be clear about that. And he's kicked players off the team. Not so much under Kirby Smart. That being said, he recruited slightly better. I just mentioned Tennessee, Jeremy Pruitt, who, by the way, this is rich, Pickles. This is rich. Jeremy Pruitt's excuse for paying players like giving Darnell Washington, who later went to the University of Georgia, his excuse for paying him that money, this was during the 2020 George Floyd thing, where, with the police brutality. He's saying that he offered money because he felt bad about those situations back in 2020. And I thought to myself, man, you are pathetic. This is Jeremy Pruitt, the Tennessee coach, who's got a 6-year show clause. He was fired from Tennessee. Wherever he goes, he's under strict probation. And I thought to myself, so you just happen to feel sorry for the 5-star player. Did you give money to the Jeremy Pruitt? Did you give money to the walk-ons? Or did you give money to the 5-star coach? So coaches are really full. I mean, these college coaches, Pickles, man, they are full of hot garbage like nobody's business, you know. And like I said, Kirby Smart seems like a pretty good coach, has recruited really well. Not so well this past year for their standards, but he has recruited well, and he has recruited well coming into next year. They got a really good class coming in to next year. And then also, Pickles, nobody asked him about this embarrassingly, and this is another point. You know what their schedule, Pickles, their strength of schedules ranked in the SEC? Okay, this team, I want to say 1 loss in 2 seasons, undefeated season, back-to-back national championship. I mentioned this the other day. Keith Engel, that no team has ever done it since Minnesota did in the 30s to win 3-peat. Nobody asked him, say, do you think that y'all schedule, what do you think about this schedule? It's 14th in the SEC. That's dead last, which means it's the easiest schedule in the entire conference, Pickles. It's 31st in the country. Okay, so that's where I feel like that's the next problem to be solved in college football. Okay, you got the whole playoff thing taken care of. Check, Pickles, right? You got the playoff thing taken care of. Check. NIL, player image and likeness. Been hearing complaints about that. The NCAA college football game, rightfully so, players had a legit argument there. You're using my name, image, and likeness on a video game, and I'm not getting any money for that. That's 50-cent BS. Check. Got that taken care of. All right. How come coaches can leave in the middle of the season for a new job, but the player has to sit out a year? Nope. Got that taken care of. The transfer rule. Check. All right. Now, what's all this doing the schedule 4 and 5 years ahead of time? Listen to this ridiculous schedule, Pickles. Ridiculous schedule that they have. And nobody asked Kirby Smart about this. I mean, it's the bunch of clowns, man. But teams like Georgia Tech have a harder schedule. Ole Miss has got the hardest schedule in the country. Florida's 3rd. Minnesota Gophers is 2nd. And Auburn is 5th. But here, let me see. Let me find this ridiculously easy schedule. I mean, they open up September, and this is terrible by the NCAA. Greg Sankey, the commissioner, you can't let your team that just kick butt on a national stage open up the next year against UT Martin on September 2nd on a Saturday. Then they got Ball State. That's 2 walk in the parks at home. Then they've got South Carolina at home. Now, South Carolina did beat Tennessee, but that, okay, it's South Carolina. It's not even ranked, I want to say. Then they've got UAB. That's the first 4 games there. UT Martin, Ball State, South Carolina at home, UAB. So we're not even going to find out how good Georgia is this year until they go on the road on September the 30th, Pickles. September the 30th at Auburn. Now, Auburn's got a new coach, Hugh Freeze. Auburn's a very, very Hugh Freeze. Remember, he beat Alabama at Ole Miss. He went to Liberty. Malik Willis. I'm going to talk about him later. By the way, he's having a really good mini camp. I'm going to ask Rich Ferris about that. Hugh Freeze. So if they go on the road, they finally got some kind of competition there against Auburn on the road September 3rd. They had a whole month off basically. And then they got Kentucky at home. And then at Vanderbilt, of course, it gets a little – they get their bye week. I mean, they just a whole driving in the park on just, easy like Sunday morning, Pickles. So then they play Florida off their bye week, which I think Florida does. That they've got that. That's another thing. I don't like that whole world's largest cocktail game. I don't like the whole Florida Georgia. I think that's stupid. I think it should be one in Florida, one in Georgia. Every 5 years or so, maybe play that neutral site game and then restart it. But I just don't. I don't like that. You know, I think it's home and away. Never have liked that. And then they've got Missouri, Ole Miss. By the way, that's at home. Ole Miss at home. And then after Ole Miss, maybe Tennessee beats them because it's on the road, and that's November 18th at lowly Georgia Tech, and then the SEC championship game. So how can you come off 2 national championships and play that kind of schedule? No Alabama, no LSU, no Ohio State, none of that. None of that. You should have a top 10 schedule. If you win a national championship, you should play top 10 opponents. You should play a top 10 schedule. All right. I understand you have to play and by the way, they're doing away with divisions in the SEC. So I just, it's sickening how easy that is. And 31st toughest schedule in the country, 14th in the SEC. I mean, just what a walk in the park, man. Now, I'll say this. They'll get bored. These players will get bored. He talked about, being complacency and how to deal with complacency. So I was looking at this new website. They're pretty good, by the way. It's called On3. They cover college football. And they had their preseason All-SEC team, okay? Listen to how many Georgia. This is for offense and defense. This thing has this guy, Micaiah Starks, Devon Ballard, 2 safeties are all conference. That's on defense. They also have this guy, Jamon Dumas Johnson, a linebacker. He's an all SEC defense. Then they have an edge rusher, Mikael Williams, all SEC defense. That is 4 players on the defensive side, more than any other team, including Alabama. Then the offensive side, they've got Brock Bowers, who's all that, and a couple of soup, that tight end, which he brought with him to the SEC Media Days, which was down here in Nashville. And then Cedric Van Pran, and then guard Tate Rutledge. So that is 8. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 players, more than any team in the league here that's all SEC. And then 3 of their first 4 opponents are against non-Power 5, UT Martin, walk in a park type of opponents here. That's something that needs to be done. That's the next step. You can't just have a schedule. That is an embarrassment. And I understand, they played Oregon last year and ran them off the field, Pickles. But it's embarrassing, and it's embarrassing for the conference here. Driving in the park. That's right, Chad. So I'm not too pleased with that. Didn't really like those kind of questions that Kirby Smart asked, but it does. I've had, like I said, Keith Engel said maybe they go back and win another national championship. Well, they're not gonna have to break a sweat until they play at Auburn. And we won't know that till September 30th. So we'll see how it goes. But that's something that's got to be addressed. You can't just win multiple national championships and have a schedule like that. Now, I'll say this. Once this thing happens next year, they're going to get some tougher opponents because, like I said, there's not going to be no divisions. Texas is really good. Oklahoma's probably going to get another coach here. And Alabama's out-recruited them the last couple of years according to the rankings, to the average of rankings. So we'll see. I may pick depending on what Alabama's quarterback is, I may pick them to win it. Not a hot take here. I know Texas is going to be really good. I know this Georgia team still going to be really good. A lot of people picking LSU is going to be really good. They've got their quarterback, Jalen Daniels, coming back. Brian Kelly here, well of a coach. He's already proved that. So anyways, a few quick takes here, switching gears to the NFL. Interesting Netflix. If you've got Netflix, now I've turned mine off for 10 months. Just renewed it last night. Woke up, guys, at 2 o'clock in the morning, couldn't sleep a wink. Had to use the restroom. And, I've been reading on Twitter about this Netflix documentary that follows 3 NFL quarterbacks last year, Pickles. Marcus Mariota, which I don't know why. I guess they want to pick, the below average guy. His last year with the Atlanta Falcons. Kirk Cousins last year with Minnesota, which they made the playoffs. And then, of course, last but definitely not least, Patrick Mahomes with Patrick Mahomes here with Kansas City. I take that back. I didn't order it at 2 a.m. I actually renewed my Netflix last night because after I'd done some editing and sent out you all a few shorts here, and you all got to see replay of my interview with Calvin Thompson. I watched that Chris Rock thing that was funny. His post Netflix special, first big major public appearance. I know he's done some stand up around the country since the slap there with Will Smith. Very funny stuff. Funny guy. But I also watched the 2 episodes, and I'm on the episode 3 of this quarterback Netflix documentary. And I'll tell you what, guys, I've said this before, Pickles. I brought this up on this program that players should not be above getting a sports psychologist. Kirk Cousins, his dad said, listen, you've got to communicate better. He made a whole list of stuff. And Kirk Cousins, he's been known to have problems in big games, just mental lapses and everything, second guessing some of his decision making. So he's seeing a sports psychologist. He says, yeah, I'm seeing, and it shows him talking to this psychologist. And he's actually gotten a little bit better over the years. This guy was a 4th round pick now. He's always been overpaid. He's a deeply spiritual guy, kind of a milkshake drinking kind of guy. Don't make a lot of mistakes. Real straight arrow guy. Got the wife, kids, go to work, come home, go back to work. Somewhat like me, except I'm not married with the kids. But he does see a sports psychologist. I did notice that. So it takes you inside stuff like this. And I put a little note to myself. I'm thinking Kirk Cousins, former Washington Commander, sees sports psychologists, and it really helped him. And then I thought to myself, well, what about Carson Wentz, folks? Former 1st round pick, signs big contract extension with Philadelphia. Not quite the same after his injury, where Nick Foles took over and won the Super Bowl against the Patriots. You guys remember that? And, the debacle with the Colts year before last, and last year benched at the Commanders, and now he's cut. This guy's a good player and still very young player, very good player, very young player still. And we are coming up a week away or less. We're less than a week away from training camp for all teams. He needs to see a sports psychologist. If it was me, I would let it be known that I'm seeing a sports psychologist. Yeah, John Smokes saw one. Helped his game out, Pickles. Who else saw one? Alex Rodriguez with the Yankees. And Chad, it says, of course, he got to see a shrink after that 3 interception loss. So it makes us locals feel sorry for him, so we won't run him out of town here after those 3 interceptions to the Bengals in the playoffs the year before last. Yeah, good call. Good call there, Chad. So I think that's pretty cool here. Made some notes about Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is, this guy has really handled stardom like nobody's business, gets put in the Ring of Honor at Texas Tech. That's where he went to school at. Mahomes met his wife in seventh grade, and had the crush on her. Finally asked her out, gave her a little toy ring thing or whatever, gave her a rose, and they finally started dating from the friends thing. And, he's married her. I know they showed his dad played with the Mets. I didn't know his dad played. I know his dad played in the majors. I didn't know he played with the Mets there. And he also has got a trainer. Mahomes has got long relationships. Mahomes has a trainer that he met in the fourth grade. So I guess what I'm saying is stability and staying focused. I've had this conversation with a friend of mine up court the other day. There's nothing like stability. He met his trainer in the fourth grade. And this guy, he has convinced this trainer to move up to Kansas City, Pickles. He's convinced this guy to move up to Kansas City, and he does. And you guys watch a lot of Kansas City football. I do because I play these daily fantasy, Pickles. He's turned sideways and forwards, backwards when he's doing a lot of those red zone plays where he's doing that shovel pass or that fake handoff and the read act option to Kels. And so he does a lot of yoga-like stuff. He's showing all those bruises he's got on him. And and another thing I did take from this is Marcus Mariota's still very quiet. It shows him quiet. That's what his dad said. By the way, going back to Cousins' dad said he was something he needed to work on. He was his coach in high school or whatever. And he says he has to work on being assertive. And you could tell Cousins Cousins still not kind of a passive guy. So Mariota's a very quiet guy. He was Richards backstage. Mario's you cannot be quiet in the NFL. You got to be assertive and get your point across. You don't have to be aggressive and mean to your teammates, but you got to know what that 11's doing. You got to know what the 10 behind you are doing, and you got to have them lined up, and you have to be very frank sometimes and assertive, not aggressive, not disrespectful, but you have to speak up and don't be afraid of any kind of conflict or confrontation which may come about. So, little food for thought. Love that Netflix series. Got a great guest coming back here. Rich Ferris here with his rocking the Atlanta Braves. This is one of the best seasons. I know we talk of football. This may be one of the best seasons they've ever had since me and you've been alive. What are your thoughts about this team, man, that Brave team? Just a quick, thought.
Well, their lineup is really, really good right now, and I know that I'm excited, but it's still early in the season.
Yeah.
And if they could have, obviously they won a World Series a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So if they could do that again, I'd really be happy about that.
Yeah, I was reading some stats the other day. They've got like 20 more home runs than anybody else in the league. Second is the Dodgers. They lead the league in ERA too. I don't remember them having that kind of balance, man, on both sides like that.
Yeah, it's probably been a while since the even maybe the mid-90s Braves that were so dominant with their pitching and then still had a pretty good lineup. So
yeah,
I'm excited, but I'm optimistic at the same time because
cautiously optimistic.
Well, you see what happened to the Mets last year, and I know the Mets is a totally different organization, but
yeah,
you don't want to ride too high and then get to the end of the season and then stuff start falling apart and you're not hitting all the right cylinders at the right time, and then you're one and done in the postseason, and then all that's for nothing. It's a long season, so hopefully they can continue to do what they're doing, and this lineup continues to achieve these heights that they've never achieved before. You got Ronald Acuna Jr. That's possibly the NL MVP.
Hey. Yeah.
Would love to see what they do coming up with a trade deadline.
August 1st, yeah. You
like
his Strider guy. My dad tells me about this Strider guy.
Yeah, Spencer Strider is their right now he's basically their ace. But with Max Fried kind of banged up, And but he was a rookie last year, and is one of the best pitchers in the league. And he throws some heat for it. So really exciting. Hopefully they can get a little bit more healthier, and especially in the pitching. And then, like I said, with this trade deadline coming up, maybe they'll make a little splash with some arms. Who knows? Maybe Shohei Ohtani would be a lovely
Oh
addition.
man, that'd be really crazy.
That'd be wild.
That'd be a story I'd jump into. Okay, now back to football. Everybody's excited. This is Rich Ferris. He works with Cumulus Radio 104.5 The Zone. Always has some insight that I didn't catch, man. What's your thoughts about DeAndre Hopkins? You was the first one that mentioned to me that they had a lot of money next year, and I was reading a lot of this is allocated the next year.
Yeah, it has to be because they only had maybe around $6 million in cap space to begin with, and they still haven't signed their second round pick Will Levis yet. So that'll be another cap hit eventually. Yeah. And so I'm not sure what it looks like far as cap this year with DeAndre Hopkins, but it looks like everything's going to be next year.
Yeah.
So it could be a glorified 1-year deal that puts a lot of money on a 2-year deal, but he's only 31, and I think he's this missing piece that they needed for this season to really be competitive. And I'm a little shocked that he made the decision this early. I thought there might have been some other suitors that maybe would have jumped in.
Yeah.
I know the Chiefs were quietly, in the mix, but once they signed Chris Jones to an extension, their defensive tackle, who's one of the best in the league, they kind of were out of money, and the Titans were willing to pay him the $26 million over 2 years, and so that's what I think helped them land him.
Yeah, and so what? Have they not signed Sonorski, their 11th pick overall yet?
No, they have everybody signed from their rookie class except for Will Levis.
Will Levis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Will Levis is the only one from that class that hasn't been signed yet, and he'll probably be around $3 or $4 million in cap hits for this year. Yeah. And then they would like to have around $8 million in cap space to operate during the season to make transactions, which they might be making one soon with their right tackle
George Fant. Yeah, he's supposed to be in this weekend. I was reading he had a 75 PFF rating in 21 before he got injured. He's supposed to be healthy. What are you hearing about George Fant, the right tackle here?
Well, they're getting him a workout this Saturday, so we'll see what goes from there.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. You got to make sure he can pass a physical, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's what they're doing. They're making sure he can pass a physical and see where he's at. And I wouldn't be surprised if he did get signed, since they do need a right tackle with theirs suspended. So we'll all know this Saturday. Yeah,
and that's the next question, brother. I mean, that just annoyed the crap out of me. That technically suspension there with Nicholas Petit Farit, or whatever you want to call him. What's your thoughts on that, man? Does that seem a little over the top, gambling at the non-football at the facility? It feels like a technicality.
Yeah, I think the rule is kind of silly, but it is a rule, and you need to abide by them. You need to know them if you're playing in the National Football League. So with him, I don't know if he knew or not, but he should have. And I know the team makes all these rules available to them. So he should have known not to do that. And they didn't have necessarily a problem with him gambling on what he was gambling on. It was just where he was gambling on these things. So silly rule to me. But if you're going to be, it's just like anywhere of employment. If you're going to work there, they're going to have certain guidelines that you need to go by, and this is one of them. And unfortunately, put them in a bind because of him making this mistake.
Yeah. When does that camp start? Was it the 24th?
Training camp starts next week. So actually a week from today is the first practice. Mike Vrabel will have a press conference either Monday or Tuesday, and I know rookies report this Saturday. Or wait, they might report tomorrow, and veterans
Okay.
report. No, I'm sorry, I was right. Rookies report Saturday. Veterans report
Not like you're a little
Monday.
sick, man. You got a cold?
A little bit, yeah. A little
Well, hey, it's
weird this
weather's
summer,
crazy, ain't it, brother?
allergies or something, but
Yeah. Same here, man.
yeah, I would expect the DeAndre Hopkins signing to become official probably Monday when veterans report. They'll
Yeah.
probably actually be in town to sign the contract, and they'll make it official. So, looking forward to next week. This week, been fortunate to be at SEC Media Days. I know we talked about that offline.
Yeah.
Really cool event. Having it here in Nashville. Next year will be in Dallas. So football season's here, and it's very exciting. And Titans camp starts next week. First practice a week from today.
Are you going to be at the first practice?
Yeah, I'll be there pretty much most of the days that they are open.
You get to see a lot of. Did you see any of the mini camps?
Yeah, I was at majority of those as well.
Okay, I'm reading that Malik Willis is ahead of Will Levis, and he's had a really good offseason. What's your thoughts on Malik Willis, man?
I like Malik Willis. I think a lot of people did. It was kind of surprising to see him go in the third round 2 years ago, and I think last year it was a step back, but he's been working hard. I don't know if I would necessarily put one ahead of the other just yet.
Okay.
Just in my opinion, though, just looking at the talent, Will Levis definitely has more talent, has more arm strength, more. You can just tell with his fundamentals that he just seems ahead of where where Malik Willis was last year at this time.
Okay.
But Malik's been in the system for a year, so he should be, ahead because he's had more time to be in the system and practice and know what to expect and all that stuff. So you want to see those guys that go from the rookie season to their next year taking those steps up, and which I think is a good thing. You want them to all battle.
Did you see any big throws by Willis in the practices that you saw?
The interceptions, yeah. Everybody
just big completions.
Oh, big completions. Yeah, there was some. He showed off that he has a big time arm. Yeah. He's probably got the strongest arm in the quarterback room here in Tennessee, and he's very athletic. So if he puts it all together, I think the biggest thing of a concern is accuracy. But we'll have to see, especially once the pads gets on and they actually start hitting each other. Then you can see.
Did you see him throw interceptions?
Yeah, everybody throws. Practices are very long. They're basically 2 hours. So you're throwing a lot, and so you get to, you make mistakes, you try things. That's where you're implementing new things. So of course, everybody each day probably throws at least one or two, sometimes more.
Do you think? My guess. This is an educated guess. I don't know for sure. But I got a hunch that Burks is going to be the number one eventually, and then Hopkins will be the number two, and maybe move to slot. I know that what's that guy's name? Cal Phillips.
Yeah, Kyle Phillips.
Yeah,
he's pretty much strictly a slot receiver. Yeah, I think so too. I think if anything, this helps Treylon Burks tremendously. Takes a little bit of pressure off his back, and I see so many similarities in Treylon Burks. Of DeAndre Hopkins. I love the way that he, catches the ball and how he, goes up and gets the ball and just gets that separation. He's not fast. DeAndre Hopkins is not that fast, but can get that separation, use his body and able to high point and catch the ball. I see a lot of similarities in Treylon Burks and D-Hop. And so I think it's a good mix. But I wouldn't be surprised either if Treylon Burks at the end of the year has stat-wise has a little bit more numbers than DeAndre because of him being such a big target and threat.
Right.
People are going to double team him and that maybe loosens up DeAndre Hopkins. Obviously, it'll help out with Chig Okonkwo. So, like I said in the beginning, this is that missing piece of the puzzle on the offense that they needed. Tim Kelly's familiar with DeAndre Hopkins, knows how to use him, coached him in Houston for a few years, as well as Coach Vrabel.
Yeah.
So
did.
there's a lot of familiarity there, and that's why I think he signed here ultimately. And I think nobody's really talking about this, but I think Ryan Tannehill is set up to have a really good year, especially being on the last year of his deal. He's going to be, wanting to play as good as he can to maybe get an extension. Who knows? Or he's going to have
35
to
years
play for another team next year, and so he's going to have to showcase all that. And I think Tim Kelly is going to simplify this offense, add a lot of more up tempo. And I just think it's going to function a lot better under Tim Kelly, just from what I've seen so far and what I've heard from players of how much they enjoy. The biggest word was up tempo, so we'll see how that translates into this new system with him.
Do you see? You say upload up tempo. Do you see like a lot of bubble screens and stuff? Did you see something like that? Receiver screens?
Not really.
What do you mean by up tempo? Just like
just
hurry
the
up?
speed, just being the speed of everything, and the plays being more quick and more, getting on the ball and just having
Short
a faster
precision
offense.
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. That's good, man. I mean, yeah. What are your thoughts about, or what are you hearing about guys like Andre Dillard at left tackle? Do you think that'll be a battle between him and Sonorski, or do you think that's probably going to be set in stone for Dillard, the guy that was acquired from Philadelphia, that he's going to automatically be that left tackle? I heard Sonorski can play anywhere.
Yeah, I think Dillard is the left tackle. That's what his strength is. That's the position he plays. And I think Skoronski will be the left guard. He could play both, but I think he's going to be their guard, and Dillard will be the left tackle because Dillard's not necessarily a guard or plays any other position. So you kind of pencil him in as a left tackle. And I haven't really heard much from him. Haven't seen a lot, but it's kind of hard to really make any assessments of offensive lineman, defensive lineman when there's no pads on, and so it'll be a lot more to be seen here in training camp next week.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on Harold Landry? You hear anything like maybe is he going to be back for camp? You think he'll be ready for week 1?
Definitely hoping so. He's rehabbing still, but I hear good things, and it'll be interesting to see next week if he's out there in practice, or if he's going to still be in the training room rehabbing. And so along with Christian Fulton, and there's one other that I'm trying to think of who has been rehabbing some too, that didn't really practice much or at all in Danico Autry in
Autry. Yeah.
minicamp.
Well, these guys are crucial, ain't they?
Yeah, because in minicamp and their OTAs, those guys were not really out there, so they were indoors rehabbing. So come next week, I'll have to take a roll and see if those guys are out there in pads.
Okay. Anything on Caleb Farley, man? What's the deal? Didn't he get hurt too last year?
Yeah, he's another one that's been rehabbing.
Okay.
I hope the best for him. It just seems like he just doesn't have a lot of experience and knows what he's doing. And so hopefully this offseason.
That's what I get from everybody, man.
The Colts game last year, I think, was in Indy. If anybody wants to go back and look at that, you could just tell how lost he was out there with trying to cover guys, and has all the athletic ability in the world. But if you don't have it mentally and don't know, what the play is and what you're doing, then you're not going to be in the NFL very long. Hopefully he's, going to make a change this year and be out there and contribute. But honestly, the cornerback room is actually looking pretty good without him at the moment. Like I mentioned, Christian Fulton, hopefully he's fully healthy. He's on the last year of his rookie deal, so he knows that he's got to play out to high standards if he wants to get a big contract from either Titans or somewhere else.
Yeah.
You got Sean Murphy-Bunting, who came in from Tampa Bay as a free agent. And,
do you think he'll beat out Roger McCreary, the second-year player from Auburn? Do you think McCreary's got that?
No, I think McCreary is. I think he's in a better spot than
Okay.
I would even say Fulton at the moment.
He was getting
McCreary was
better, wasn't he?
consistent. He was
Towards the end of the
consistent.
year.
Didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
He played every snap. He was one of the few Titans last year that played every snap on defense. And
Nice.
so hopefully that continues to trend for him with his health, and he gets better as a corner. But I think Sean Murphy will be more of a slot nickel corner.
Okay.
You also have uh, I just blanked on his name. That was a rookie from Washington a couple years ago that they drafted.
Ooh.
That
I don't know. Let's
I
see.
know his
You got
last name starts with the M. So
I don't know. You got you got Farley, Chris Jackson, Fulton, Elijah Molden.
Elijah Molden. That's who I was thinking of. He's back healthy, and he's also kind of at nickel corner.
Okay.
Guy that was actually playing a little bit of free safety while Byard was out.
Okay.
So he's got some versatility, but hasn't been healthy the 2 years he's been here. But he's also somebody that's that's their fourth corner that I think has some talent, but just needs to stay healthy.
Do you think this Hopkins addition? My theory is they've got to compete. It's going to be a 2-team race. It's going to be them in Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
A few months ago, I thought Jacksonville had this running away. Jacksonville lost their right tackle and their left tackle suspended for 4 games.
Yeah. That's why they had to draft a offensive lineman early in the first round, I believe.
Did they draft the lineman early? I didn't think they did.
I think they drafted I want to say one of the tackles from either Florida or
maybe they did draft somebody. Yeah,
they definitely drafted offensive lineman in the first round. I think primarily because of that, and so. They don't have a lot of holes, though. Jacksonville's got a good team. They have a pretty solid head coach. I agree with you. It's going to be a 2-team race for the AFC South. But this addition with DeAndre Hopkins is that missing piece of the puzzle for the Titans that I think puts them right there neck and neck. It's kind of a toss-up for me.
Yeah. I see, my only concern is that those 3 linemen, Brunskill, Dillard, I think Sonorsi is going to be good. If they can hold up, man. Have you looked at their first 6 games?
Yeah.
It's rough, other than maybe at the Colts, but that's at the Colts,
Yeah, I might make the trip up to that game. I went up there last year.
Oh, nice.
Indy's a pretty nice stadium. I definitely want to try to go up there. I know the London game's the week after, I believe. So if I end up going there, I probably won't go to Indy, but yeah, their schedule, they got to get off to a good start because I think it does get a little bit easier in the middle of their schedule and towards the end. So if they can, win a couple of those tough games up front and stay healthy, I think they have a good chance. Jacksonville's also got a pretty rough schedule too, so it'll be interesting to see how that race goes. And just kind of going back to D-Hop again, I think he also elevates everybody, on that offense too. With adding him,
that's right.
Like we already mentioned, DeAndre Hopkins. Treylon Burks. But we haven't even mentioned Derrick Henry, Chigga. You have
Sharp. I think that
you have those 2 weapons,
great, man.
As well as the rookie Tajay Spears, who's going to be backing up Derrick Henry. So there's some pieces there now with the Titans offense, and I wouldn't be surprised if they have a really good year on offense.
Yeah, and something, that's Sonorsi. He kind of reminds me of Quentin Nelson a little bit in some of those practices. I was just looking at some of the film. Did you watch him up close personal?
Yeah, he's the real deal. I was surprised that he was there at 11. He's everything you want in an offensive lineman, and Quentin Nelson is probably a good comparison.
Yeah.
I think he can be eventually a Pro Bowl left guard. So, but yeah, you're right. The offensive line is kind of getting that to gel. Everybody's kind of new, especially now with the right tackle out. So they'll have to gel pretty quickly for that offense to be successful.
Yeah, man. Yeah. They got those. I mean, you got the Saints, Baltimore. I think Baltimore is the team that they play in London.
It
You
is.
know,
But that's
Cleveland,
week. That's
Cincinnati,
week 8, I
brother.
think.
Huh?
I think the London game's like week 8 or 9.
Oh, okay. Let me look at this.
But they do on the road in New Orleans, which with them having a new quarterback, and I don't know, it's going to be an interesting game
Yeah.
to start the season. I think the Titans could beat the Saints down there, but it all depends on how quickly this offense can mold and get it together.
Yeah, it's all about that line, man. No, Baltimore. Yeah. Baltimore, 8:30 a.m. NFL Net's what it's showing. Week 6, brother.
Is it week 6? Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're
The
going to
the
fly to
London games
London,
are
you and the
always in
wife.
October, and I'm trying to figure out if I'm gonna go, but hopefully
Hey,
I
you got
can.
those kind of connections. But listen to this. This is for you in the audience. Like you said, Saints to open up the season. Derek Carr down there at New Orleans. Tennessee's a pretty good road dog team. They could pull it off, but with Fareed being out,
And
I hope that Fant is healthy, and maybe they do sign George Fant or whatever his name
well,
is.
I also wouldn't count out their rookie tackle Jalen Duncan from
Oh,
Maryland, who
okay.
was
Well,
they
they get
drafted
him like
him.
the 4th round or something.
He was a 6th-round pick, but
Okay.
a lot of people were surprised that he fell to the 6th round. There was a lot of attributes that people like in him, and so they also have a few other offensive linemen I think that could maybe rotate in there if not. Um, so I also just going back to the Saints. I
Yeah.
don't think Derek Carr's had a very good career versus the Titans. So
Well, they beat him last year, didn't they?
yeah, yeah, they I almost want to say he's only probably won against them once, and that was a game that Mariota broke. No, I was gonna say the one that Mariota broke his leg, but I'm getting him confused because he also broke his leg that same day,
That is
which was
true.
interesting. And
But
yeah,
yeah,
Pickles, Anton Harrison, going back to the Jacksonville
you're
offensive
right.
lineman
You
from
guys are
Oklahoma.
right. So they're trying to break in a rookie too. What were they 3-7 at one point, and they went on that winning streak down there in Jacksonville.
Yeah, they were not looking good early at all, and it was the opposite for the Titans. They were 7-3, had a
Yeah,
4-game lead in the division after they come back from Green Bay of winning up there, um, and didn't win a game
everything fell apart.
since.
Remember
Yeah,
the OC got a DUI that night.
yeah, yeah. They went to Philadelphia. I think the next week they fired their GM and didn't win a game since. So
Yeah, but I was talking about this with the audience that they were just ridiculous turnovers. They actually had Jacksonville beat down there if it wasn't for that sack strip fumble on because Dobbs is. I mean that was all offensive line. Not
yeah,
holding up.
yeah, and it's pretty crazy. They signed Arden Key, who is a big factor on that play. The Titans did to cause
Yeah,
that fumble. So
Harding
yeah, they. I mean, and here's
will
the
be
thing. I was talking
especially
with
with
someone
Jackson.
yesterday about that game. Is that they had hardly any starters. I mean, they were depleted and were still competitive with
Yeah,
a team that they won a playoff game. They beat the Chargers in the playoffs,
yeah,
and the fact that Vrabel still had that team right there, just a couple seconds away from probably putting that game away. If they would have not fumbled the ball there and got another first down, that game would have been over,
yeah. And remember,
and they
they
would
were
have had a playoff
pressing in
game.
the other game, Richard, the one that was played here. I sense that Derrick Henry had some fumbles. I felt like they were pressing. It was all. It seemed like most of that was on the line. I know, Henry fumbled. That was probably
Well,
tried too
the
hard.
line was. I mean, they had a bunch of practice squad guys, and
You're right.
people that piece together that line to even finish the season. And so if they didn't have their center, they didn't have their left tackle.
Yeah.
So that line was very beat up by that time of the season.
Yeah. You're right, man. But I mentioned this to the audience the other day. They got Cincinnati here on October 1st, but Cincinnati's got a Monday night game prior to that against the Rams. So Tennessee may catch them, a little flat-footed there.
I hope so, because the Titans owe them a good beatdown.
Yeah, they do. They're
the
getting
Bengals
up there with Baltimore.
Have gotten lucky the last couple of times that they played. They played here last year and came out with a win late with a weird penalty at the end that I want to say it was a goal line stand that they
I remember that.
or it was a field goal thing where the defensive lineman hit the center in the helmet or something weird that caused a penalty to get them a first down and run out the clock. Just a weird way to end. So they definitely owe Cincinnati a good beatdown. Hopefully it comes this fall.
You'll go to that game?
Yeah, I'll be at all the home games here in Nashville, and
oh man,
I usually try to make a road game or two. So we'll see.
Man,
I'd love to go to the Pittsburgh game, but it's on a Thursday night, and
that's right. That's right. At Pittsburgh, they got to play out in Miami.
The Monday night game. That'll be a tough one.
Yeah,
I think Miami
underdogs.
I think Miami might win the AFC North.
I think they're going to win the East as of right now.
AFC East, yeah.
But hey, man, it's good stuff here, buddy. I'm like you. I think they can compete with Jacksonville, but if they do not beat Jacksonville for the division, the AFC's so strong. I think they'll miss the playoffs barely.
I think you got to win the division to be in the playoffs. With the AFC
you still
South.
think that too?
Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be surprising. Right. Even the AFC East, I could totally see two wild cards coming out of the AFC East.
Right.
Or even the North. One or the other.
Well, Cleveland's going to be. Yeah, they got to play Cleveland too during that stretch.
Yeah, in Cleveland, I believe. That's another game I kind of penciled maybe taking a trip to, but I know I'll definitely go to the Indy game so Cleveland will be interesting just to see if Deshaun Watson turns it around or how that plays out.
Schwartz, you got a former Titans coordinator there,
defensive coordinator or assistant, or I'm not sure what his title. I guess he's a defensive coordinator.
He's their DC now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're gonna be tough, man.
Yeah, and that'll be fun to watch to see how he uses that personnel.
Yeah. Well, they're gonna stop the run. You could always throw on Schwartz's team, but they got a really good cornerback, and that Denzel Ward is very good. So
and that division is going to be so tough. With the Ravens, the Steelers, I think are going to make some strides. Yeah. Bengals obviously are probably primed to win. Yeah. So Cleveland being the fourth team, I think in that bunch at the moment is I've seen some reports that Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper are really on the same page. So maybe that helps. So we'll see.
I hope so, Pickles. 12 catches on Cleveland.
Yeah. I hope he'll have that many and maybe a few touchdowns against Houston a couple times this year too.
Yeah.
That'd be fun, especially if they wear the throwback Oilers uniforms in Houston.
You never know. They might do that, man.
They're going to release those uniforms this Sunday.
Okay.
Whatever throwback uniform that they're going to use, they'll release that on Sunday.
So you go by yourself, or you go with the radio crew?
Yeah, I'm usually working the games with the Titans radio group, and
nice.
So been fortunate to do that for a few years and sit in the press box and all that good stuff.
Man, does Frank Wycheck ever come back around every now and then?
No, he moved back to the Philadelphia area where he's from. I
Are
think he
you
started
serious?
helping.
Okay.
Maybe a couple years ago, I think moved up there. It's been a while since I've heard anything from him, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was up there helping coach some high school football. I know his brother, I think, still lives here, but haven't heard much from him in a while.
Yeah. Yeah, he was saying something. He said something about CTE and all that.
Oh, it's apparent. I don't want to speak on his behalf because I don't know 100%,
Yeah.
but it definitely seems that he's had some issues there with that.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. He's a great guy, and he's good for the. And is that the reason why he just got out of radio? You think?
Yeah.
Or did he get bored with it?
I don't think it was that. I think I think there was some things that happened that weren't necessarily his decision.
Okay.
With the limited amount of times that towards the end that he was able to come on and with being a full-time host, you're supposed to be there, majority of those days, and when you're not, your boss may need to let you go.
I heard what's it, McCall Kahorsky or whatever, Paul Kahorsky say something about that towards the end on the radio.
There's no telling. I know Paul pretty well. I don't think that he had any issues with Wycheck that I know of, but
I was saying he mentioned that Wycheck was late a lot, and
that's, I don't know if that's necessarily a CTE thing. It could be just some people are just late. They're
late
all the time.
Up. Well, I'm glad he's doing. He seemed like he's doing okay. He's got family up there, so.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, if he's actually coaching, from what I heard, high school ball, he's
that's good.
Probably in a good spot doing that, but not sure. He's a very kind of closed off guy here of the last
he's got
8 or so years.
The public eye, man. Hey, well, thanks for coming on. Yeah, I didn't know you go to I'm gonna have to bring you in. Yeah. After the game, that's going to be great because you got some insight that a lot of us won't see. You might have a story about Mike Keith or somebody.
I love Mike Keith. He's the best.
Yeah. Touchdown Titans. Appreciate it, Pickles. Hey, Rich. Plug your show. Thursday, right?
Yeah, every Thursday, Big Ten Rich. Me and two of my other good friends. We talk about a little bit of everything. So I know you can subscribe, all that good stuff on pretty much any podcast platform. You can follow us on social media at Big Ten Rich. And we have new shows roughly 9:00 every Thursday night.
That's Central Time?
Yeah.
Okay, working night shift.
Yeah, we record it probably around 7.
Okay.
But I say 9 just to be on the safe side that it's out there and put on all the platforms.
Man, well, appreciate you coming on. You guys go into everything, gyms, etiquette, and all that.
Yeah, we get into a lot of different things.
Kenny's funny.
Yeah.
You ever bring Kenny Dobson on there?
No, but I actually seen him the other day.
How's he doing?
He's doing all right. He's it was good catching up with him, and probably need to do that more often.
Yeah, I got to bring him on, man, and talk a little comedy with him and talk maybe some sports or whatever. I've been listening to
some New York stories.
I was listening to, I don't know if you've heard this, but Dana Carvey and David Spade got a podcast now.
Oh, okay.
And all the old SNL guys, and a lot of that when you think about funny SNL stuff, I think about Kenny, man. Adam Sandler, you name it, man. They've had big names on there.
Yeah, I went and seen Adam Sandler when he came to Bridgestone Arena here in Nashville.
Is he playing his guitar?
Ago. He did, yeah. It was a very interesting show. I haven't seen him live, and the stuff that he does was just so so wild and random, but it was still funny and a good time. And he had played a few of his songs, had that same tribute to Chris Farley.
Did he do the Lunch Ladyland?
I don't think he did.
They did a Chris Farley tribute. It's got Tom Hanks. They brought Tom Hanks on there.
Yeah,
just big. I didn't realize that the guy who created SNL, Lorne Michaels, that they brought Mike Myers on there. Dr. Evil. The Dr. Evil character from Austin Powers was based on Lorne Michaels.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's like, right.
Yeah.
We'll have you do this and then you do that, okay? That's okay. That's all I got to say. And I didn't realize that.
It makes a lot of sense. Just knowing a little bit about him and what people think about him.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it T-A-N, Rich, or 10? T-E-N?
Oh, T-A-N.
T-A-N. That's what I thought.
Yeah, my friend said he's big.
My
friend Kenny, he's tan, like a color. And I'm rich.
So you're not getting sued by Big and Rich?
No.
I'm messing with you, brother.
I don't even think they're a band anymore.
I don't think so either. I haven't heard from them. I know Rick. Well, they still do their thing for the ESPN.
I think Big Kenny is kind of like just not doing really anything, and Rich has got a bar downtown, and he's doing a lot of political stuff lately.
Yeah, I know. Thank you, Chad. See, my guys love you, man. All right, brother. Hey, have a good night, and I will be seeing you again. We'll keep our fingers crossed that they get signed George Fant.
Yeah, we'll see, and I'll be happy to come on and talk to Titans or anything else. Especially once training camp gets started. And I do want to mention one thing. That was an idea that popped in my head.
Yeah,
that I was hoping that would happen, even though this is completely ridiculous.
Yeah,
but when DeAndre Hopkins was being courted by the Titans and being courted by the Patriots, they have a joint practice that they're here in Nashville later in the preseason.
Really?
And I was wondering if they would do like a signing day thing where DeAndre comes down to Nashville. They have a table there with a Titans hat and a Patriots hat, kind of like high school signing day or college signing day. And then he would choose his, which team he would go to, and both teams are there. So then you just go into whatever locker room and change and then play against the other.
I really thought that the Patriots had that. I did not think Titans were going to get this, man.
I was confident in the Titans the whole time because I knew that they were offering him more money.
That's what guys at work were saying.
They were offering him more money. I think it's a better opportunity. You have a better quarterback, regardless of what people think of Tannehill.
Well, he's more of a vet. He's been around.
And I still didn't buy that him and Bill. What's that?
Bill Belichick.
No, not Bill Belichick. The other coach, O'Brien. I just didn't buy that they were like all of a sudden on good terms.
That is true.
But I did think that Kansas City was heavily involved, which they were.
Yes, they were adjusting salaries.
I was more worried about Kansas City more than I was the Patriots.
Yeah, Buffalo, Kansas City, but I think with Buffalo, I don't know if Diggs wanted that. I mean, I
don't think Buffalo was really. I don't know if they were really in the mix or not. I knew Kansas City was. I knew the Titans and Patriots were. But I don't know what other teams may have reached out. But I'm glad that he's here, and hope to see him next week and kind of see what happens. As long as he can stay healthy, I think that he can prove that he's a little bit younger, a little bit more healthier than the last few veterans that the Titans have signed. Historically, have signed, like a Julio Jones situation, even Robert Woods last year, going back to Randy Moss, having these really good players when they were in their prime. I still think DeAndre's got a year or two still in his prime.
I do too. It's not an Andre Johnson or Randy Moss. That was in the middle of the season, wasn't it?
Yeah, he got put on waivers, and the Titans put in a waiver claim and ended up with him. And I honestly think that the GM wanted him, but Jeff Fisher didn't. So it was a very weird situation that also caused a very good radio bit that I'll have to
I've heard
bring it
that
one day
about
a caller named Woody.
Yeah. I'll probably bring. I think maybe come back in maybe 10 days. I want to get like a practice report from you, brother.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Man, I can't wait. This is going to be fun. Thanks again, Rich Ferris, everybody. See you, buddy.
See you, man.
All right. Thanks, everybody. And I'll be back on here tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern here on Sports Scope. I'll probably go over a little bit more of this SEC day and more. Definitely bring Rich back on the program.